Hi there, I'm Amy Murray from Teaching Exceptional Kinders, and I'm so glad you're here to learn more about making the switch to a sound wall, why you should ditch your word wall and make the switch today. Listen, I am a former kindergarten teacher. I've been out of the classroom for just a year now. And a few years ago, our principal came to us and she is very data driven. And she came to us asking about piloting a sound wall in kindergarten. We were a half-day program. We had our hands full already. No, no, thank you. We're busy. And then she sent us to a training. We'd already had letters training, and so I had some of that background knowledge. And then she sent us to a sound wall training, and I was like, okay, we've got to try it. We've got to try it. And we did, and with great success. So I'm excited to share our experience and how you can make it work with your kindergarten kids too. It doesn't need to be overwhelming and stressful. If you're familiar with the science of reading at all, you may be in some of those science of reading Facebook groups or other places. And the champions of science of reading are these super accomplished educational researchers, highly intelligent, full of knowledge, awesome, awesome, awesome people. But sometimes they have a tendency to use terms and terminology that aren't teacher friendly for those of us who are not in the research field. And most of the time, they do not have classroom experience within the last, I don't know, 5-10 years. Maybe not ever, and maybe not ever in a kindergarten classroom. So my goal is to just present some information and things that worked in our kindergarten classrooms and share them with other teachers. So let's get started. Okay, why should I ditch my word wall? Let's get into it. All right, can I make myself bigger? Let's see if this works. All right. To get started, let's think about how your traditional word wall is working in your classroom. How are your students using your word wall? What does it look like? What does your word wall look like? Have that picture in your head, right? I need you to understand, and this is a shift, that word walls are organized from a teacher or an adult reader's perspective, okay? And then when we're shifting to a sound walls are organized instead of by the first letter, they're organized by phonemes, which is just a fancy word for sounds. Okay, they're organized by sounds. Sound walls are organized from a student's perspective. What do I mean by that? I will get there in just a second. Let's take a closer look at a word wall. Here's an example of what a word wall might look like. This is just obviously a one page for our example here today. So you have A with their apple all the way down here to Z with your zebra, and you stick your words up here, right? Okay, so let's think about a word that your student wants to write about. Let's say your kinder really wants to write about his new favorite center in your classroom. Okay, he's writing in his journal and he's looking for his center. Where is he going to find the word center on a word wall, on this word wall? Where will he find the word center? Yeah, up there with the letter C. Well, truth be told, he's probably not going to find the word center because he's going to look down here with the other words that start with S, right? Because that's what he hears at the beginning of the word. He doesn't know that it starts with C and that it follows the soft C rule. He doesn't know that. He's just looking for center. Let's try another one. How about the word phone? If they wanted to write about mom's brand new phone, where would they find the word phone on your word wall? Yeah, down here with the letter P. Once again, your student probably isn't going to find the word phone on their own. You'll tell them, go look up there under P, and they'll find it. Or maybe they've memorized somehow that phone starts with P and they'll find it that way. But generally speaking, they're going to look up here with F because that's what makes the F sound for them. All right, last one. What about the word write? I want to write a story. Or I'm going to the writing center. Write. Yeah, they'll find that under W. And once again, it doesn't start with a W sound. It starts with a R sound. So they're probably going to look under rabbit unless you tell them. So these are the pitfalls of a word wall. Why? Why can we look at a word wall and find the word right and find the word phone? Because we've mastered those phonics skills. We know those spelling patterns. We've got them committed to our memory. We're readers. But our students are not learning the same way, right? You and I, our brains are programmed to read, or sorry, to speak, but not to read and write. And we need to teach kids explicitly how to read and write. Sound walls are an effective tool to get us there. So think about when you have a baby or a toddler and they're learning how to talk and they're mimicking sounds. That comes naturally, right? You might go, mama, and they might do it back to you, okay? But some words they just pick up on their own and they start saying because sound comes naturally. Our brains are wired to speak. They are not wired to read and write. The science of reading has shown us that over and over again. So we need to explicitly teach those phonics skills to our students. A sound wall helps us get there. All right, so here's what your sound wall could look like. On a sound wall, the consonants are kept separate from the vowels. We'll get more into that in a little bit. I just kind of wanted to explain and show where words go on a sound wall. So you have different phoneme types, and we'll chat about those a little bit too. You have your stops, your nasals, liquids, affricates down here, fricatives and glides are over here, and then Q and X are a little bit extra, so they go down here. So now that we see how we're separating our sounds, think about where the word centers would be found on a sound wall. Right. Centers is now going to be over here with sun and cycle and anything else that starts with that S sound. It doesn't necessarily have to start with that sound. You may see the sound somewhere else in the word as well. All right, how about the word phone? Where will we find phone on our sound wall? Over here with pig and put. Now phone is going to be over here with fish and friend because we are sorting by sounds, not beginning letter. All right, and where does right go? Down here with our W's and our glides? Nope, right over here with read. Okay, they would go together. Recess would go there too. Another place that recess could go on your sound wall, which is a little bit different, it could go up here with this words because right in the middle it has that C and at the end it has the double S's. So a sound wall lends itself to the sound coming anywhere in a word, and that's more evident on the vowel sound wall than it is necessarily on the consonant sound wall. The vowel sound wall, all of your vowels are voiced sounds. We'll chat about that in just a second. But your vowel sound wall is sorted in a V shape usually because that's the way your jaw goes. So your jaw starts like this for E and then goes all the way down here to ah, and you're open, and then back up to U. And this isn't a great picture. I've been searching for a better clip art picture, but your mouth is, your jaw goes back up for U, and you've got that look to your mouth. In the classroom, we took pictures of students making these sounds and put them up so that they can see and match their sound, their mouth to the pictures before COVID. So I've been trying to find some good clip art to use in the meantime. All right, so you're ready to implement a sound wall, but you really need to understand phonemes, sounds. That's just sounds. And you need to understand how graphemes, that's a fancy word for spelling patterns. A grapheme can be one letter or more than one letter that go together to make a sound. Like the letter B can represent the sound B, and the letters S and H can go together to represent the sound sh. Okay, those are graphemes. So B and S and H are graphemes. The sounds are B and sh. Okay. When you're using a sound wall, you're going to need to understand your articulation placement and manner of articulation, meaning where in your mouth the sound is coming from and what your mouth, your tongue, your throat, your voice box, what's happening while you're making that sound. As kindergarten teachers, you may be somewhat familiar with this because you probably have had speech students in your classroom who need that extra help and extra support. So over the years, you may have picked up a few tricks along the way, maybe all new to you. And this is the part that was the most challenging for me, is understanding more about the phonemes and learning how to make them correctly, how to produce the sounds correctly. And that can take a little bit of time. So I do have some cheat sheets for you that can help. All right, so one of the major things is the sound a voiced sound or an unvoiced sound? That simply means, is your voice box engaged when you make the sound, or is it not? Something that was brand new to me as I learned all of this was that the TH grapheme can be voiced or unvoiced. So you can say like thumb and you won't feel a vibration, or you can say like that and you will feel a vibration. So it's voiced versus unvoiced. All of your vowels are voiced sounds, so it's consonants that can be unvoiced. You also have stops or continuants. All right, a stop is like p. Once that leaves your mouth, it's over, right? Or a continuant would be like that goes on and on until you run out of breath. All right, so you can do a little bit of research on voiced and unvoiced sound stops versus continuants. You can go through all of the sounds, starting with A and go to Z, and there's more sounds than that, but you can go through them and say a, b, k, and feel which ones are voiced and unvoiced. Stops and continuants, you can do the same thing as you make the sounds. You can differentiate between them. It's a good exercise as you're learning more about them. The other thing that I will link at the end of this presentation is a freebie. Sorry for making all that noise. Is a freebie of the phoneme types. In this freebie, you get these little cheat sheets, which will help you to organize your sound wall because you're going to organize by the phoneme type and voiced and unvoiced sounds. So you've got stops are sounds that end when the air escapes your mouth. You have your voiced stops, b, d, and g, and your unvoiced stops, p, t, and k. Right? And then that we have for all of them. You have your glides, fricatives, affricates, all of those. Okay. All right, let's get into some of the how, right? How are you going to create a sound wall? You're going to separate the consonants and the vowels, put them in separate places. Ideally, your vowel will be in the shape of a V to match your jaw, the placement of articulation. Your consonants are going to be arranged by their phoneme types, and this free cheat sheet will help you with that. And if you're considering displaying the sound cards all at once, you can use, and if you see up here behind me, you can see those little blue post-its to cover any graphemes or spelling patterns that you're not using at the beginning, and then you can uncover them as you learn them. All right, so I've got the freebies for you that can help you organize your sound wall. I think that's it. Oh, the other freebie, and we'll talk about that in a minute, is the labels, like the little girl on the slide there for your glides. And that will be in a link at the end. Okay, where do you find time for a sound wall instruction? Listen, pump the brakes. Sound walls are not a new curriculum. It is not. Sound walls are sort of like a word wall. It's an addition, right? Or it's a tool. It's not a whole curriculum in itself. Now, you do need to shift your thinking a bit as you're doing your phonics curriculum, and you need to more explicitly teach how to produce those phonemes correctly, but you don't need like a whole nother 30-minute block. Okay, it can just be part of your writing or phonics block. And you can follow your phonics curriculum as far as when to introduce sounds. Okay, if you have a good phonics curriculum like Foundations, and just follow it. You can even use their letter sound cards for your sound wall. You do not need to keep your sound wall separate. The other question I get asked a lot is, should I still have a word wall? We kept a word wall, not really a word wall. It was a list of our high frequency words because our district still required them. There are better ways to teach those too. If you're not sure, look up heart words. It's a great tool to use for teaching those high frequency words. We kept them separate and listed in alphabetical order. We did also add them to our sound wall with the proper sounds as we learned them. And you could keep a seasonal word wall, which we did like with our new vocabulary words for new books and things like that. Didn't always go on the sound wall. They were kept separately. Those are a little bit different. But if you're using your sound wall correctly, it should be used for phonics. All right. Now, if you are sitting there thinking, oh, where am I going to find all this stuff and pull it all together? I've got you covered. I have a course called Successful Sound Walls. I made this course, designed everything for kindergarten with kindergarten in mind. You could certainly use it in first grade or in your special ed resource classroom. If you're reading specialists, things like that, it can work for you as well. In Successful Sound Walls, you get everything you need to set up a sound wall tomorrow. If you want to get it set up and get it started, you can start tomorrow. Just print and you're all set, right? You have training videos, much like this one, but we get more in depth for each little part. We're going to talk a lot about the consonants and why these are stops and why these are fricatives and what that even means and all of that is in the course. You get these sound cards. These are printed small and they fit on the bulletin board, which is right up here behind me. You get phoneme cheat sheets, like these phoneme types, but also for individual sounds. Okay, with examples for spelling patterns, examples for where they come in words, how to properly produce the sound. That is in Successful Sound Walls. Personal sound wall, like this over here that you can use over here on the right, you can use in a writing folder for your students. You'll get the picture cards that you can see posted underneath of the sound cards over here. You will also get the student reference page down here that you can add your own high frequency list to. Also an alphabet line, because we're not ditching the alphabet. We still need to learn the alphabet in alphabetical order and how to properly form letters. We're not ditching it. We're just organizing sounds in a way that makes sense for students, okay? You'll also get lesson plan examples with editable templates, suggestions for the order of phonemes, the order to introduce them if you don't have a solid phonics curriculum and you're trying to build your own, and more, everything you need to be successful with sound walls today, right? It's all there. And there will be a link to that down below. Also, these are the freebies I mentioned earlier. These are your phoneme types, okay? There's a link for those, the phoneme cheat sheets, and also these are the free soundwall labels that you can use. You can see some of them up there. These you can use, like I said, if you're doing foundations, you can use these free labels to help organize your foundation sound cards. You do not need to reinvent the wheel. It also comes with the mouth clip art for your vowel and consonant labels as well. Okay. All right, let's connect. If you have questions or follow up anything that you need from me, I can be reached at email, amy@teachingexceptionalkinders.com. That's my email. On Facebook, our Facebook page is Teaching Exceptional Kinders. And I love to be tagged on Instagram. I love to see sound walls in action and how they're working with your students. It's at Teaching Exceptional Kinders there, right? And my TPT store is also Amy Murray, Teaching Exceptional Kinders, if you need to find me there. All right, I hope that overview was helpful to you. Sound walls do not need to be a separate thing. You do not need to reinvent your whole phonics block. You just need to add it. It's more of a shift, right? We're not going to teach the print first. We're going to teach the sound first, and then we're going to teach them what print matches that sound. What print, what graphemes, what spelling patterns can we use to represent that sound? Rather than here's the spelling pattern, it makes the sound. Okay, it's just a shift because we know that's the way our brains are programmed. And I promise if you give it a try, you will see the results. All right, reach out if you have any questions. If not, good luck with your sound walls.